Women communicate desire through a language most men never learn, and she's speaking it right now, whether she knows it or not. The signals aren't in what she says, they're in what her nervous system can't help but reveal. There's a moment that happens in almost every conversation between a man and a woman. It's brief, barely noticeable, but if you've trained yourself to see it, if you've spent enough time observing human behavior without judgment, without agenda, you begin to understand something profound. Women are not mysterious, they're not illogical, they're not playing games in the way men think they are. What they are is deeply honest, in ways they don't even realize. The female nervous system operates under a biological imperative that predates language. It predates culture, social conditioning, and the carefully constructed narrative she tells herself about who she is and what she wants. When desire moves through a woman's body, it leaves traces, fingerprints, digital footprints across her behavior, her speech patterns, her physical presence. Most men miss these signals entirely. Not because they're stupid, not because they're incapable, but because they're incapable. But because they've never been taught to read them. They've been taught to chase, to pursue, to interpret silence as rejection, and to move on. They've been told that women are hard to understand, which is just another way of saying you haven't been trained to look. This is where we begin. What follows is a dissection of 5 behavioral patterns, 5 distinct lust signals that women broadcast in nearly every conversation when there's genuine attraction present. Not the surface-level attraction, the deep attraction, the kind that bypasses her conscious mind and speaks directly from her neurobiology. This is not about manipulation. This is not about tricks or hacks or pickup lines. This is about literacy, understanding the language your own nervous system was designed to read. Let's begin with something most men notice but never actually understand. Voice. When a woman is attracted to a man, her vocal quality changes. Not dramatically, not obviously enough that she's aware of it, but the change is measurable. It's real. It's rooted in neurochemistry. Here's what's happening beneath the surface. The limbic system, the ancient part of your brain that controls emotion, arousal, and survival instincts, communicates with the vocal cords through the vagus nerve. When attraction is activated, when desire begins to move through a woman's nervous system, her parasympathetic branch kicks in. This is the rest and digest response. But in the context of attraction, it's something different. It's the openness and receptivity response. Her voice drops slightly, almost imperceptibly. The pitch lowers. The pace slows. The words become more deliberate. There's less nervous energy in the delivery. She's not rushing to fill silence. She's not compensating for anxiety with rapid speech patterns. Instead, there's a settling, a grounding, a sense that she's comfortable enough in your presence to actually be present rather than defend herself. But here's what most men miss. The frequency shift is accompanied by a vocal warmth, not heat. Warmth is the difference between a sun lamp and actual sunlight. One is artificial, one penetrates. When a woman is talking to a man she's merely friendly with, her voice contains a certain brightness, a kind of artificial cheerfulness. It's not insincere exactly, it's just that her nervous system is still partially defended. There's vigilance in the tone, a subconscious calibration. With genuine attraction, that vigilance dissolves. Listen closely the next time you're in a conversation with a woman who's attracted to you. Notice the moment the quality of her voice shifts. Notice how she might lower her chin slightly, how her words become fewer but more substantive, how there's less performance in the delivery and more offering. This is lust signal number 1. It's not in her words. It's in the vehicle carrying the words. The signal appears most clearly when she's discussing something personal, when vulnerability enters the conversation, when she's moved from surface-level pleasantries into something that actually matters to her. In that moment, if there's genuine attraction present, her voice will deepen, will ground, will become almost hypnotic in its steadiness. This is neurological honesty. Her vocal cords are telling the truth. Her conscious mind might still be protecting. Now let's move into the territory of body language. But not in the way you've heard about it before. Most dating advice talks about mirroring as if it's a binary switch. Either she mirrors you or she doesn't. Either she leans in or she pulls away. But the reality is far more nuanced and far more revealing. The actual signal isn't when she mirrors you. The signal is when she stops mirroring the defensive behaviors she uses with everyone else. This is the mirror collapse. Think about how a woman navigates the world. She's learned through evolutionary design and social conditioning that the external world contains threats. Some real, some perceived. In response, she develops what we might call a public nervous system configuration: shoulders slightly raised, posture reserved, a certain protective tightness in the face and neck. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's her nervous system doing what it's designed to do: protect. But when genuine attraction is present, when her system recognizes a man as sufficiently safe, sufficiently non-threatening, something shifts. The shoulders drop, the chest opens, the face softens in a way that's almost vulnerable. She occupies more space, not aggressively, but with a kind of permission she doesn't usually give herself. Her body language stops communicating defense and starts communicating availability. But here's where it gets deeper. She also stops mirroring the performance behaviors she uses in social settings. In a group, a woman will often adopt the energy of the social dynamic. She'll match the tempo, the brightness, the surface level quality of conversation. It's adaptive, it's smart, it's how she remains socially integrated without revealing too much vulnerability too quickly. When attraction is present, this adaptive mirroring stops. Instead, she mirrors only you, your pace, your depth, your emotional temperature. If you speak slowly, she slows down, not consciously, but her nervous system synchronizes with yours. If you're calm and grounded, her system mirrors that groundedness. If you're present and attentive, she becomes more present and attentive in return. This is a collapse of the social performance architecture. What you're witnessing is the moment she stops performing for the room and starts communicating directly with your nervous system. She's dropped the masks that women habitually wear, the ones that keep her safe, keep her appropriate, keep her defended. The mirror collapse is one of the most reliable signals of genuine female attraction because it requires a level of safety and trust that is rarely given. She's risking vulnerability. Her body is communicating a kind of surrender, not to you as a dominating force, but to the possibility of genuine connection. When you see this signal, you're not just seeing attraction, you're seeing a woman choosing to be seen. Language is a weapon. Language is also a map. And the way someone structures their questions reveals, more than almost anything else, what's happening beneath the surface. Most men notice when a woman asks questions. They think this automatically means interest, and while there's truth to that, it's not the whole picture. The type of question matters infinitely more than the fact of questions themselves. When a woman is merely being polite, her questions tend toward the external, the factual, the safe. What do you do for work? How long have you lived here? Do you have family nearby? These are database queries. They're gathering information in a neutral, socially appropriate way. There's nothing wrong with this. It's how social connection begins. But it's not a lust signal, it's a friendship protocol. The lust signal emerges when the question pattern shifts inward, when she starts asking about your internal landscape rather than your external circumstances. This is the third signal. The questions become more specific, more probing, more willing to venture into territory that requires vulnerability. What made you choose that path, even though I can tell it wasn't the obvious choice? When was the last time someone really understood you? What do you want that you don't think you'll ever have? Notice the difference. The first set of questions is about facts. The second set is about psychology, about vulnerability, about the hidden architecture of who you are. When a woman shifts to this pattern, when she stops asking where you're from and starts asking who you are, her nervous system is communicating something clear. She's moved past the peripheral interest phase. She's begun to care about your interiority, about your complexity. But there's more. Notice how she asks these questions, the timing, the context. She doesn't jump immediately into deep questions. That would be socially inappropriate. Instead, there's usually a moment of permission, a conversational deepening that she initiates. She tests the waters. She creates safety first. Then, once safety is established, the questions deepen. This is deeply intelligent behavior. It's not calculated exactly. It's patterned. Her nervous system knows intuitively how to create the conditions for genuine intimacy. And one of those conditions is understanding you, not superficially, but genuinely. The woman who's experiencing lust, the woman whose system is activated, wants to know the parts of you that matter. The wounds, the dreams, the contradictions. She wants to map the contours of your interior life. This is predatory behavior in the best sense of the word. She's hunting for genuine connection, for authenticity, for the parts of you that reveal who you actually are, beneath the social masks. When you recognize this signal, you're recognizing a woman who's moved past casual interest into something far more substantial. There's a psychological principle that most people intuitively understand but rarely articulate. Reciprocal vulnerability creates intimacy. When one person reveals something authentic, something real, the other person's nervous system registers this as an invitation, not a demand. An invitation to reciprocate, to match the level of honesty, to create symmetry. Most people follow this pattern unconsciously, but some people deliberately break it. Women experiencing genuine attraction often do this intentionally. The signal is called vulnerability sequencing. Here's how it works. She reveals something mildly personal, something that requires a small amount of trust. She watches your response, how you receive it, whether you judge it, whether you respect the confidence, whether you reciprocate with your own vulnerability. If you pass this test, if you show up with genuine presence and authentic response, she goes deeper. The next revelation requires more courage. It ventures further into territory where she could be hurt, where judgment could land more harshly, where she's more exposed. If you continue to show up, not perfectly, just genuinely, she goes deeper still. This is not a test in the punitive sense. It's not a game designed to trap you or reject you. It's a nervous system assessment. She's literally using vulnerability sequencing to determine if you're safe enough for deeper intimacy, if you're emotionally mature enough to receive her truth without either dismissing it or weaponizing it, if you're capable of seeing her without either idealizing or demonizing what you see. The lust signal here is twofold. First, she initiates this pattern. She doesn't wait for you to earn trust through your own vulnerability. She leads. She creates the conditions for deepening. This is a sign that her system is already activated. She's not waiting to be convinced. She's already convinced. Now she's testing whether you're worth the risk. Second, she escalates the vulnerability in a specific way. She's not randomly sharing. She's strategically revealing the parts of herself that matter most, the parts that, if rejected, would hurt most deeply. She's putting her most valuable currency on the table, her authentic self. When a woman does this, understand what's happening. She's communicating desire through the grammar of trust. She's saying without words, I'm willing to be seen by you. I'm willing to risk hurt. I'm willing to risk hurt. I'm willing to reveal the parts of myself that I usually keep guarded. That's how much your presence activates something in me. This is not casual attraction. This is the signal of genuine lust, of real desire, of a woman's system saying yes at a neurological level, even if her conscious mind is still navigating the social appropriateness of what that yes means. We arrive now at the final signal, and it's perhaps the most revealing of all: time. When a woman is attracted to a man genuinely, viscerally attracted, her relationship with temporal reality shifts. Most people, in conversation, are somewhat aware of time passing. There's a kind of background consciousness. How long have I been talking? Is this appropriate? Do I need to leave soon? It's a low-level awareness, but it's present. It's part of how we navigate social norms. When genuine attraction is present, this awareness often dissolves. She loses track of time. The temporal collapses when the clock becomes irrelevant, when a conversation that was supposed to be 15 minutes stretches to an hour, and neither of you notice the passage. When she's late to something she cared about, but the cost of leaving your presence became too high. This is not distraction in the clinical sense. It's not that she's not paying attention. She's more attentive than she's ever been, more present, more aware of every micro-expression on your face, every shift in your tone. But the future, the external obligations, the temporal structure of her day has simply ceased to matter. Her nervous system is prioritizing presence over punctuality, connection over calendar. This is a profound lust signal because it reveals something essential. She's willing to sacrifice for your presence, her time, which is her life, which is her most valuable resource. She's choosing to spend it with you, even when it costs her. But there's another dimension to this signal that's equally important. The temporal collapse is accompanied by a particular kind of attention. When she's losing time with you, she's not just present, she's hyper-aware of you, of your reactions, of whether you're genuinely engaged or merely tolerating her presence. She's monitoring constantly, unconsciously, for signs that you're still interested. But her being here still matters. This hyper-focus is a nervous system signal that lust is present. Her amygdala, the seat of emotional intensity, is active. Her prefrontal cortex, the seat of social calculation and time awareness, has stepped back. She's operating from deeper brain structures, more primitive, more honest, more driven by the actual truth of what her system wants. rather than what her social programming says she should want. When you see this signal, when a woman loses time with you, when she's hyper-aware of your presence to the point where external reality fades, you're seeing the unmistakable mark of genuine female lust. It's not quiet. It's not subtle once you know how to read it. It's a woman's entire nervous system saying, "This matters. You matter. You matter. More than the rest of my world in this moment." Now that we've examined each signal individually, it's important to understand how they work together. These 5 signals don't exist in isolation. They're not separate phenomena. They're different manifestations of a single underlying reality. A woman's nervous system moving from a defended state into an open state, from a position of caution into a position of receptivity. And here's what's crucial to understand. A woman cannot fake all 5 of these signals simultaneously. She can perform 1 or 2, she can control her words, she can manage her facial expressions. But the constellation of signals we've discussed, the vocal frequency shift, the mirror collapse, the question pattern shift, the vulnerability sequencing, the temporal collapse, these require a level of neurological coherence that conscious performance cannot maintain. If all 5 are present, you're not looking at social politeness. You're looking at genuine attraction. But here's where the masculine responsibility enters. Recognizing these signals is not permission to act without integrity. Understanding the truth of what she's communicating is not an invitation to manipulate that truth. It's not an invitation to assume consent where none has been explicitly given. It's not an invitation to violate boundaries because her nervous system has signaled openness. True masculine authority, the kind that's built on something real, something grounded, requires that you use your understanding of these signals, not for manipulation, but for appropriate response. When you see these signals, you're being invited into deeper connection. Your responsibility is to meet that invitation with the same integrity she's extending to you, to be worthy of the vulnerability she's sharing, to protect the openness she's allowing herself to experience. This is where masculine depth meets female vulnerability, not in conquest, but in mutual recognition. We must go deeper still. The reason these signals matter, the reason understanding them is crucial, is not because they're hacks for seduction or manipulation. It's because they reveal something about the female nervous system that modern culture actively obscures. Women are not mysteries. They're not illogical creatures operating on incomprehensible whims. They're human beings with nervous systems, with biological imperatives, with honest communication patterns that, if you learn to read them, tell you exactly what's happening beneath the surface. In a world where women are constantly told that their desires don't matter, that their bodies are objects, that their agency is secondary, learning to read these signals is, paradoxically, an act of honoring women's autonomy. Because it means you're not guessing, you're not projecting your desires onto her and hoping she fits the mold. You're not making assumptions based on how she looks or how she dresses or what she says she wants. You're reading her, actually paying attention to her nervous system's honest communication, respecting what she's actually broadcasting rather than what you hope she's broadcasting. This is the foundation of real connection. Not domination, not conquest, real connection. Here's where we arrive at the deepest truth. When you become fluent in reading these signals, when you develop the literacy to understand what women's nervous systems are actually communicating, something shifts in your own nervous system. You become calm, not artificially calm, not the kind of forced composure that comes from suppressing emotion, but genuinely calm, because you're no longer guessing, you're no longer anxious about whether she's interested, you're no longer performing false confidence to cover your uncertainty. You can simply see what's happening. And when you can see clearly, you can respond authentically. This is the final signal, the 6th signal that emerges when you've integrated understanding of the first 5. It's the signal you emit when you move through the world with genuine understanding of female communication patterns. Your own nervous system broadcasts security, competence, the kind of masculine authority that isn't aggressive or dominating but grounded, real, unshakable. Women read this signal instantly. It's more powerful than any of the tactics you could employ. More attractive than any line you could rehearse, more seductive than any game you could play. Because authenticity is the most powerful force in human connection. When a man knows what he's seeing, when he's not confused by the signals women send, when he can navigate the landscape of attraction with clarity and integrity, his entire presence changes. He becomes safe, not weak. Safe. And safety genuine. Grounded, unshakable safety is what every woman's nervous system is actually hunting for. You now possess a literacy that most men will never have. You understand that women's lust signals are not mysterious, they're not games, they're not manipulative tricks hidden in plausible deniability. They're honest broadcasts from a nervous system in a state of genuine arousal and attraction. The vocal frequency drops, the defensive patterns collapse, the questions deepen, the vulnerability escalates, the temporal priority shifts. These are not accidents, these are signals. And now you can read them. But reading signals and acting on them are different things. The masculine path forward, the path that honors both your own authenticity and the vulnerability of the woman communicating with you, is to use this understanding not for conquest, but for connection. When you recognize these signals, you know she's interested. You know her system is activated. You know the conditions for deeper intimacy have begun to form. Your responsibility is to meet that with your own authenticity, not to exploit it, not to use it as permission to disrespect boundaries, not to treat her openness as an invitation to manipulation, but to show up, to be present, to be worthy of the vulnerability she's extending. This is where masculine power becomes real. Not in domination, in integrity. The woman who signals lust is inviting you into connection. She's extending trust. She's opening her nervous system to the possibility of something real. The question is, will you be the kind of man who honors that? Will you be the kind of man who meets vulnerability with strength? Who reads signals with respect? Who understands the female nervous system not to control it, but to connect with it authentically? That is the path forward. That is what genuine masculine authority actually looks like. And that is the real power, not in decoding signals, but in being worthy of them.